Something that we've mentioned quite a few times on these sessions, this set of regulations that were last updated in 2013, the reporting of injuries, diseases and dangerous occurrences of regulations. And within RIDDOR, as we generally call them, within RIDDOR, there's certain specified injuries. When I say specified, there's a list of injuries which have to be reported to the Health and Safety Executive. We go through various injuries, what have you, in a moment. Diagnosed industrial diseases. So this is diseases caused by work. Okay, it's not just any disease, it's diseases caused by work. There's a list of recognised diseases. Dangerous occurrences. A dangerous occurrence is a high risk near miss. So these are occurrences that have occurred. On this occasion, no one got hurt, but had somebody been caught by the event, it could well have ended up in serious injury or fatalities. And there's a fourth category, over 7 days. It's where people have an accident at work or an event at work and they're off work for 7 days or more. But again, all these events have to be reported to the Health and Safety Executive. So specified injuries. Fractures, broken bones, but not fingers, thumbs and toes. So damage to digits doesn't count, but fracture of any other bone reported to the Health and Safety Executive. Amputations, so amputations and severed limbs, permanent loss of sight or reduction of sight. So maybe something's got in the eye and it could be a liquid, it could be a solid particle, something that's caused damage to the eyesight, could be light. Crush injuries leading to internal organ damage is reportable. Now it says serious burns. I mean, burns are nasty, we know, but serious burns. These are burns that cover more than 10% of the body. Now scalpings, this is where losing the skin off your head, hence scalpings. So, but only those that require hospital treatment. So a scratched head doesn't count, but if it requires hospital treatment, then that does count. So that's some of the specified injuries there. And the reporting, by quickest practical means, it could be by telephone, or more commonly nowadays, most reporting people do via the HSE website. So if you go to the HSE website, there's a bit there about reporting accidents. It would take you through a set format of what to fill in, what information to give. So these are specified injuries. So it's like quickest practical means. So in this case, it can be by telephone. So more commonly, people report by the website. Now, under RIDDOR, we have to have a nominated responsible person to do the reporting. So I don't want just anybody phoning up, any member of staff. It's someone who's been given that responsibility. Quite often, it's a senior manager or maybe the safety manager. You have to take into account a deputy, if you like, for when people are absent. So if the person who's responsible for doing the reporting, obviously there might be a holiday at some stage or maybe off work being ill, and so we'll have a deputy standing, but a responsible person to do the reporting. And there's a form involved. Now this is done online nowadays, but it used to be an actual piece of paper. It's the F form 2508. So for specified injuries, it's the F2508. Now, diseases. I'm going to go back a little bit there. That is not the full list of specified injuries. There are some others. I think somebody made unconscious through a head injury or asphyxia, that would be reportable. Someone who suffers hypothermia or a heat-related issue in an enclosed space, if they lose consciousness, or somebody required resuscitation or hospitalised for 24 hours or more. There's there are additions as well, just to give it a bit more detail. So we've got the specified injuries, then we got the diseases, the diagnosed industrial diseases. Now, this is when the company's been, it's been diagnosed and it's been reported to the company from a medical practitioner. Now, some examples, you might have heard of some of these. Carpal tunnel syndrome, it's a type of upper limb disorder. Can be caused through vibrating power tools, can also be caused through just overstressing in the wrists. Your carpals are what sort of go up your arm and protect your median nerve. It's out of interest. Occupational dermatitis. So this is from contact with hazardous substances, quite often solvents, maybe bleach or something like that. Dermatitis, skin condition where the natural oils, your skin protects it. Your skin has natural oils to protect it. And if the oils get eroded or worn away, then the hands go very dry, they can crack and blister, and it's quite a nasty condition. So occupational dermatitis, that is dermatitis caused by something at work. Hand-arm vibration syndrome. Again, quite commonly from using power tools. There's too much exposure to vibration over too much of a period of time can cause a lot of nerve damage and not just nerve damage, but also blood circulation damage in the fingers, in the hands, and the arm. So hand-arm vibration syndrome. So anybody getting these conditions as a result of work, so it's been professionally identified or diagnosed, but these are reportable to the health and safety executive. Again, occupational asthma. So it depends on what sort of work people are doing as to whether asthma might be occupational related or not. But you've got various other upper limb disorders, if you like, tendinitis, which can also be spelled tendinitis with an I, tenosynovitis, which is all upper limb related from overstressing, like maybe lifting too much too often or very repetitive movements. Occupational cancer. Cancer is always a difficult one with diagnosis because there's so many things that can cause cancer, or so many carcinogens, things that we have in our own homes and things we come across in our lives, but also certain higher risks at work depending on the type of work people are doing. So say this can only be reported when there's been an official diagnosis by a professional medical person, because usually GP, usually it's a doctor. So if somebody goes to their doctor with some of these conditions or one of these conditions, or not feeling well, goes to the doctor, if they diagnose it, they then ask about your work history, your work activities, what do you do, where have you worked, to see if there might be a link between the work and the disease. And if they feel there is a link, then it will be reported to the HSE by the employer, does the reporting again. So once it's been diagnosed and company's been notified of that, then we go to the HSE website. So it's not a telephone, this one. This is go to the HSE website and report it online. And the form is slightly different. We have the F2508 for the specified injuries. For diseases, it's the F2508A. It can also be a disease caused by exposure to bioagent. Okay, so moving on. Another category. Oops, sorry. Start that again. Another category. Why am I in this? Oh, there we go. Right. Dangerous occurrences. There is a list of 27 dangerous occurrences. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them. Put some in here for general information. Lifting equipment, cranes, forklift trucks, when it fails. So equipment failing. Now, dangerous occurrence, remember, is a high risk near miss. So if the lifting equipment fails, but no one gets hurt, then it can be classed as a dangerous occurrence. Pressure vessels. These are vessels that contain gases or liquids under pressure. If they fail, they can explode. They can cause an awful lot of damage. But if you have a pressure vessel that fails and it doesn't hurt anybody, then that will be classed as a dangerous occurrence. The release of a biological agent, likely to cause disease in humans, a pathogen in other words, that's reportable. Again, failure of breathing apparatus. Now, failure of breathing apparatus, but the person managed to escape, managed to not be affected by it, then that's reportable. Collapse of scaffold over 5 metres. Now, I would say scaffold of 4.5 metres can cause a lot of damage and injury, but they had to put a limit somewhere. So it's always been with scaffold. Any collapse of scaffold over 5 metres is reportable as long as no one got hurt. And take into account, in this country, we have about 70 major scaffold collapses every year, on average, but they don't all result in injuries. So again, the reporting is via the HSE website. It's got to be done as soon as practicable. And it's the same form, the F2508. So it's the same form for injuries and for dangerous occurrences.
Paul, would the failure of a pressure vessel, would that include if it failed as a result of another event like a fire, for example?
Ooh, interesting question. To be honest, on the top of my head, not sure. Not sure. Yeah, I'd have to check that and come back. Can you email in the question later on?
Yeah, we'll do.
I'll have a proper look at that. So yeah, I must admit, I'm not 100% sure, so I can't really give you a straight answer at the moment. That's a good question, though. Another dangerous occurrence, the failure of a load-bearing wall. So we have internal walls, they're not load-bearing, but the external walls especially, load-bearing walls if they fail. And again, no one gets hurt. That's the important thing about dangerous occurrences. No one got injured, but it's still reportable. So just as a listing here, specified injuries then, for example, a fracture, not fingers and toes, reported by the quickest practical means, it's phone or online. Now, 7-day plus injuries. So where someone's had an accident, and we start counting the 7 days and the day after the accident, if they're off work for 7 days or can't do their normal duties, if we've had to put one to other work because of their injuries, then we have to report. The report has to be done within 15 days of the accident. Dangerous occurrences, which we said, 27 different types. Overturning lift equipment is one example. Again, quickest practical means, same as for specified injury. Diseases, once we've been informed as an official professional diagnosis and it's been linked to the person's work, then again we go to the website and the diseases on the F2508A. So reported by the website for that one. Now, this thing about RIDDOR does also include the ultimate injury, fatality or death. Now, when there's a death in the workplace linked to work, they have to tell not just the health and safety executive, and again, quickest practical means, but the police as well. So the police will see if there's some sort of criminal, not health and safety law criminal activity, but some other criminal activity, like a stabbing or an assault. And then sort of like, depending on the situation, the police will say, oh, it's a health and safety issue, they give it over to the health and safety executive. Now, the whole thing about health and safety executive within these categories is we report something, they might say, right, okay, we're coming out to investigate. So that's part of the accident investigation side, where the HSE could come out and investigate. Or if they've had several reports of a similar nature over a period of time from one company, they might then decide, well, hang about, we've had these things happen before. They might just go and do a random inspection of the company, and they might phone up and tell you they're coming in. They might just turn up at your door, as is their legal right. And if someone's had an accident at work and they die within a year, then again, we have to report that. Now, the difficulty there is, from the point of view, we may not find out. But chances are they've had an accident at work. If they die within a year, someone's going to point out. Someone's going to point out probably that, hang about, they had an accident at work, which could be involved in that. So we have to inform. Again, it's all about the employer informing the HSE. And I say, when we say about the employer, it's the responsible person, a nominated person, who's got the responsibility for doing these reports.